We are back with another episode of Mining Now. Thank you for joining us. Gowdy will not be joining us today because we have two guests on, which means she's running more cameras, more lights, more monitors. Okay, so today on the show, we are featuring EPCM services. This is a bit of an understatement. They are challenging the most difficult manufacturing and operational challenges. Pretty amazing, some of the things that they've done in the industry. So we're going to be unpacking these. And joining me will be John Jickling. He's the president and CEO, and Bryan MacMillan. He's the vice president of operations at EPCM. Now, we're going to cover a lot of ground, cover a lot of projects. Before we do any of that, we got to give a shout out to our sponsors.
Alrighty, so first up, we have Holly Frontier Lubricants and Specialties, which includes the Petro-Canada Lubricants brand. Petro-Canada Lubricants products and services are proven to maximize the equipment performance, productivity, and overall savings. From heavy-duty engine oils to hydraulic fluids, automatic transmission fluids, and gear oils and greases, Petro-Canada Lubricants is committed to delivering innovative solutions that deliver value and keep businesses moving. They have dedicated technical expertise, knowledge, and know-how to help customers in the mining industry operate smoothly with improved equipment reliability and performance. To learn more, you can visit them at lubricants.petro-canada.com or contact them at 1-866-335-3369 to arrange a call with one of their technical experts. Next up, we have Savonai Equipment. Savonai Equipment supplies new and used mining equipment around the world, from placer to underground to ore processing plants. They have gold concentrating tables, trommels, and mineral jigs in stock now to take advantage of the high gold prices. You can visit them at savonaiEquipment.com, where you will find more equipment every day. And of course, we've got CIM. The CIM 2022 Convention and Expo is coming back to Vancouver in person this May. Show off your products and services in mining technology, digitalization, equipment, consulting, and engineering. There are a whole lot of perks waiting for exhibitors, and this expo will sell out fast. If you're a researcher thinking about what mining will look like for future generations, this convention is the perfect place to present your technical paper or lead a short course. Visit CIM.org for all the details and book your exhibitor space and submit your abstracts today. Next up, we have NSS Canada. NSS Canada provides safe, accurate, and innovative survey equipment solutions. As a Leica Geosystems and Hexagon Mining authorized reseller, they specialize in engineering, construction, and mining solutions. To learn more, you can visit them at nsscanada.com or you can call them at 705-744-3246. And last but not least, we have Power Zone Equipment. When you need a specialized team of world-class engineers for your oil and gas pipelines, dewatering, or any fluid handling needs, you want to visit powerzone.com. In addition to their inventory of rebuilt pumps, motors, engines, they also have an amazing team to design and engineer your systems, no matter the challenge, no matter the location. Get in the zone with Power Zone. Visit them at powerzone.com.
Hello, John. Hello, Bryan. Welcome to the show. Good to have you on.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Pleasure to be here.
Okay, I want to jump into some projects with you, but you're a company that does a lot and solves a lot of issues that companies are having. Things like legacy, where they're trying to get to the sort of the next stage of manufacturing. And so, can you just give me a little bit of context, sort of how you explain the company in a couple minutes? Maybe John, we'll start with you.
Well, EPCM has been around for 40 years, and our history is based on initially then consulting engineering, and we slowly moved from consulting engineering into also automation equipment and then service and supply. And we really have focused now on bringing all that life cycle work and offering into providing a complete life cycle service to our clients. And that includes supplying new equipment. That includes refurbishing existing equipment that is in clients' plants for 20, 30 years. And it also includes providing them service throughout that period of time. And that's where we believe, and that's where our strengths are, is within the overall life cycle service.
Bryan, I want to jump over to you for a quick second, because when we started, I think we started this whole process of you coming on the show. You mentioned EPCM being sort of the industry's best kept secret. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I mean, we're established all over the world. We have operations in Germany, we have operations in Canada, we're operations in Chile, and we do quite a variety of things. But we're not one of the names that maybe people everybody knows, but the people who need to know us know us. And I was just visiting a client the other day, and I got an email from a client, or a WhatsApp message from a client that I never reached out to, and they were saying, "Hey, we've heard, we think you might be able to help us solve this problem. Can you help?"
John, I wanted to go back. You sort of mentioned something in passing, and I want to unpack a little more. The own and operate equipment. Do you talk a little bit more about that setup?
Well, one of the biggest issues we have or one of the biggest issues our clients have is they're kind of stuck within their OPEX budget, their operating budget, and it's difficult to get capital money to improve equipment or improve how they are currently operating their facility. So what we do is we take a look at their operations, and they have a specific operational problem. And we'll look at that operational problem. We will provide them with new technology, new ways of doing the work that's being proposed, and then we will offer it in an OPEX manner, which means that we will offer to supply the equipment, own it. We will have people on their site and operate the equipment, and we will also maintain the equipment. The client actually receives a benefit in lowering their operational costs. They receive a benefit in having a safer environment, because with automation, you can improve the safety, and they get better efficiencies and lower costs.
Right. On you're out, when you're out, generating business, having this communication with clients, are your clients, like you said, there a lot of them, the people that need to know who you are know. So are they coming to you and asking, or do you need to sort of lay out a vision for what can be accomplished on a project? Are they saying we've got a problem that we just want ideas, or do they sort of come with sort of the bones of what they want to do?
Some of both. I mean, we have different clients all over the world, but frequently we'll go to clients and we'll see issues, and maybe we'll see an issue that they don't realize they have, or we see an opportunity to solve challenges that maybe they haven't quantified or they don't realize are as impactful as they may be. So because we do have the global insight and are operating around the world, we can see things that sometimes our clients don't see. And I think, when we talk about some of our projects, we'll talk about how we propose solutions that had never been considered before and have effectively changed the way they operate.
Yeah, I mean, I want to, and we're going to look at some of these projects. I wanted to bring up, and we've got videos, so we'll start to play some of those so people can actually see a little bit of what we're talking about. Safety is such a huge thing, and John, you already mentioned it. It's such a big issue when you're trying to integrate automation or upgrade a legacy system to an automated system. I mean, how much of that is the discussion? I mean, is it a case where if you're going to automate, you have to have 100-foot barriers around everything, or is it sort of even the perception of safety and automation? How is it perceived in the industry, and how do you sort of approach that communication?
Well, first of all, we always work with our clients on safety and understanding what their internal rules are. But safety is utmost importance for us and our clients. But one of the issues we have and is that what they want and what clients perceive as being safe. Putting up 100-foot barriers is not safe. That does not improve safety, because what it does, every barrier that you put up is a potential barrier that somebody may try to break in order to accomplish their job. What is important is to understand the operations, to understand the maintenance requirements of the equipment that's being installed, and design it so that it can be operated safely, it can be maintained safely, and therefore it is a safe piece of equipment. Barriers are exactly what they are. They're a barrier. And there's nothing more than we've seen before, and seen clients go to visit a legacy piece of equipment, and you see a piece of safety equipment that's on the floor or has been disconnected because it was a barrier to getting production done. And that is so frequent. That's why when we design our equipment or we working with the client, we're designing equipment to be not only safe, but to be functional safe, operational safe, and maintain them. That can also be maintained safely as well.
I really do feel like we could have a whole show just discussing just discussing that, how safety is perceived versus what actually is safe, and also what a company's demands are, and having that communication. I'm sure it gets quite interesting. But we got to show some projects. We got to show some of what you've actually done here. Can you talk maybe an example? I know you sent over a few videos. An example of upgrading from a legacy system to a really a fully automated process. Bryan, maybe we'll sort of kick off with the overview of it, and then sort of look at it at a larger scale of the video that you sent through.
Yeah. So what we found is in a lot of our clients, and we work quite a bit in mining, is that there's been equipment that's been operating for 20 or 30 years. And the example I use is like a 20 to 30-year-old car. You can still drive it, you can still get from A to B, but it doesn't have the same capabilities that you can get on a modern vehicle. And when you look at some of the legacy equipment, people feel comfortable with it. They know it, but they're really limping along using it, and it doesn't provide what you can get from a modern system. And John was just speaking about the safety systems on equipment 20 years ago are not what they are today. A lot of the equipment that was put in you would not be able to implement it today. So what we find is, people are running into obsolete parts. They can't find the spare parts for equipment. The technology has improved significantly, and what they're looking for is a modern solution, a solution with higher reliability, and that can add some of the value that the older systems don't have. And again, if you think about a phone from 20 years ago could, make calls, and now you can do so many more things with it. So can you add value into the system by making it an intelligent system?
Mhm.
Is what a lot of our clients are talking about.
Well, remember we talk about people sort of, they're comfortable with it. I don't know if you remember that we got quite intense, the debate about buttons on the phone versus a touch screen. It's and people were attached to it. I think because in all honesty, people could drive and text with the buttons. I think that was actually the main driver on that one. Um, but what about John? Going over to you on the downtime. I guess maybe what is the order of importance when people are talking about automating their system? I mean, safety is obviously going to always be at the forefront, but then you're talking about things like downtime and efficiency. Sort of where does it all rank? And can you break that down a little bit?
Well, right now with the high prices of commodities, safety is an utmost concern, but also it's the price and the downtime of lost production. So that is right now probably one of the biggest driving, or one of the areas where it kind of stops the progress of putting in new equipment, is the time available to shut down. Now, in the video that you saw, that particular client had space to install a new piece of equipment while they continue to run their existing equipment. So therefore, downtime was not a factor in this. So it was strictly in terms of production improvements, long-term operational savings due to the fact that the equipment has less parts, less damage, and therefore there's going to be less consumption of parts, less consumption of time and maintenance on maintaining equipment. But for new clients where they don't have the space to put new equipment in, it is utmost important is how quickly can we take out and remove the legacy equipment and put in a new system. And this is where EPCM has an advantage over a lot of our competitors, in the sense that we are also an engineering company. So we first go in there and we do the engineering and do a laser scan, understand the layout, understand what can be, and we start to actually build a model of the dismantling process to dismantle this equipment quickly. Because that's part of the putting in. After that, we have to have the equipment installed. So we have to make sure that the equipment that we build has been tested thoroughly, and then it can be installed in units. So it's like a skid mounted area. So everything is a package. It's predefined, pre-set up, pre-wired. So therefore, after it gets installed, it's strictly plug and play and ready to go.
I was curious, do you have to either one of you, maybe maybe from what sort of you hear from clients, but just as a company as well. Do you have this sort of tongue-in-cheek saying all the time that I hear in mining is the first to be second? Is that a challenge for you, trying to automate systems when there is a little bit of this? I think it's changing a bit, and maybe that's part of the question is, do you see it changing? But is that a roadblock for you still to today?
It is a roadblock. And the part of the reason is the clients have been burned so many times before
Yeah.
buying equipment that just doesn't work or live up to expectations. And when they're the first, that's a worry. That's where, as we talked before, by EPCM doing the own and operate and maintain model, we actually can take away a lot of the risk of the client who are interested in improving their operations. So therefore, the risk is now associated to us. So
Okay.
therefore, it's up to us to actually maintain it and perform. And we actually get paid based on performance.
Is
And
that because you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
Jared, the other way we can overcome that problem is we have long-term relationships with our clients, and we've been working with them for 20 plus years, and they've known and they've experienced our success with them. So we have some great clients where we've essentially developed technology partnerships with them, where we bring in solution after solution, and we've got some great clients in Chile where we've really pushed the envelope by bringing in new technology.
Like that video that we brought it up now, but just go back to it, Brian. Can you kind of give that? What are we actually seeing in that? I mean, it's about a 4-minute videos, but just as a sort of a general overview, what's the audience looking at in that project?
So in that project, they wanted to change their technology. So they had an old stripping system. So they have a system that removes copper from permanent cathodes, and we specialize in that. We've been working on automated cathode stripping machines for over 20 years, and we also work on permanent cathodes. And we're the global leader in that. And what they've done is they've converted the technology. So they had an old system, and as John mentioned, we put in a new one. And it's a robotic system. It's automated so that it can work with very few operators, very few people being put in risks in a risks way. And it's a fully automated system that we've implemented.
Jared, we were selected on that project. I mean, first of all, what you'll see if you watch the video, you're seeing a transfer of product from the client's tank house into our machine. And then as you go through, you'll see our full face cathode wash, which is the first of its kind and developed. And why was that developed? That's developed based on our experience as a maintenance. As because we are involved in maintaining not only our equipment that we design, but other clients' equipment, other suppliers' equipment as well, we understand what works and what doesn't work. And one of the issues is you can get pre-strip copper, you can get pre-stripping, which causes downtime in the machine or damage. So we designed a system that actually washes the quality of the product, the client's product, which is in this case copper cathodes. And at the same time, if they do pre-strip, it can be conveyed through the system and doesn't cause a downtime. At the same time, after that, we're using robotic material handling. We were the first to push the introduction of robots into the mining. Why? Because it's not a one-off design. All the old legacy equipment is one-offs. People designed it. Whereas a robot is like a car, it's reliable. And what we want to bring to the industry or to the systems and to the mining clients is reliability. At the same time, then you go down through the wash. We have 2 stripping units that provides us with the requirement. We're not moving the product around. All the work's being done in one location. And then we have our bundling and packaging and sampling line as well.
And one of the reasons we won that project is because we were able to have the flexible design with the automation, so we could fit into an existing footprint.
Right, without all the actually added infrastructure other than the operation itself that you're implementing. I have to ask, the one thing I'm wondering about is cost. When it comes to encouraging companies to make this investment, CapEx versus OpEx and all this type of thing. Can you sort of walk us through that? Because you've got an approach that I think is worth mentioning before we move on to a couple more projects.
The approach is first of all, we sit down and we have to look at the overall costing of the work. And the main thing is to ask our client, I mean, is this operation going to be around for another 30 years? If it is going to be around for another 30 years, is it realistically a possibility to maintain their existing equipment for another 30 years? And the answer is no. Everybody understands that they have to make this change. So what we do is we sit down and work with the clients to understand the economics and the benefits to their operation to make this case for a CapEx change. And that would include in evaluating how much time they're actually producing right now. Maybe they're having, with the old equipment, they have to go to 2 shifts instead of a single shift. That's a cost associated to their operations. How much are they spending on spare parts and maintenance? That's also a cost to their operations. What can we do with the new equipment versus the old equipment? For example, maybe they have issues with their quality of their end product that gets intermixed into their tank, into the client, to their client's product, and therefore they get complaints, etc. We have vision AI systems that can do quality sorting of their product. That provides additional value. And on top of it is the safety factor. Everybody, all mining clients, everybody wants to operate in a safe manner. And when you there's an economic benefit, an operational benefit, and a safety benefit, then it can easily be discussed with the client.
I was curious how you, because I want to go into, actually, I want to jump over to it now because there's another project. I think it's a heap leach monitoring system that you put in, which is kind of interesting. I wanted to shift gears just because I don't want to sort of give the audience just a perception this is all you're doing is that automation, because you're doing a lot of other problem solving as well. So just quickly, Bryan, can you just give us an overview of this project as we'll bring that video up as well that shows it in action?
Yeah, absolutely. So historically, and if this client reached out to us and they wanted us to look at their heap leach pads. So the pads are quite large. They're about 3 kilometers by 2 kilometers, and it's crushed rock. It's recently laid, so it's not particularly attractive to walk on. It's covered in acid, so they're irrigating the pads with acid, and they were having troubles where they weren't getting good coverage. They were getting spots that there was too much flow. There's spots where they weren't getting enough flow, and they weren't able to monitor it effectively. They'd have people out there looking at it, try to fix it. They had a series of manual valves that they're opening and closing. So they reached out to us and they asked us to propose a solution. And we did. And we said, well, why don't we look at this differently? Why don't we do this in a totally different way? Why don't we use drones? Why don't we fly over it and use thermographic cameras to identify areas that you're getting good coverage and areas that you're not getting good coverage. Let's use automated valves so that we can redistribute the flow. And we've had a massive impact, and the client has been very pleased with the solution. They've decreased the amount of labor required by 90%, and their copper production has gone up by 2%, which is a very big number.
On something like this, or the last project we saw, or anything that you do, this is something I'm always curious about when you're trying to implement something new. Do you start with a one pager of, hey, we got a bit of a concept here, and they go, yeah, or do you drop the big heavy book in front of them and say, hey, here's this major thing we're going to do? How do you even move that conversation along? And especially on a mining operation where there's so many different voices that sort of need to hear, well, not just to talk and ask questions, but also to hear the challenges and and voice their concerns. How do you even start that process and sort of walk it through until the finish line?
Well, I think you have to set expectations with the client, and that's done by listening to the client. And that particular video that you've shown, what the client was originally asking for, and we were listening to them, is exactly what we delivered. but how they were asking for it, the project probably would never have happened because the overall capital cost to do it the way they were recommending or looking at doing it was just too costly for infrastructure. So not only did we, when we listened to them and understood the project, we went back and said, this is what you're proposing, but how about looking at doing it this way? And it was just a one pager saying, are we on track? For example, do you need to have thermographics of this leach pad 24/7, or can it be passed over a few times a day? Is that acceptable? Because in this case, a leach pad doesn't change that much in hour by hour. So therefore, the client said, yes, that is acceptable. So therefore, the original concept of theirs to put up pillars and cameras all over a 3 kilometer by 2 kilometer pad and putting these down installed with the infrastructure, that's gone. That can be all replaced by a simple drone with an infrared camera on. So by taking what they're asking for, understanding that there could be a different way of doing it and accomplishing it, and then sitting down there with them and going through it. The same with the automation. They wanted all the valves to be hardwired through conduit back to a server. We said, we can actually do this via solar, with each of these valves controlled by a solar power, and we can do it all via remote and no wires. And they said, would that be acceptable to them? They said, yes, that'd be acceptable. Again, all this did was bring down the overall cost to the client. It gave them exactly what they were looking for. And then they got the results and were able to go ahead with the project because it was within budget. So first off, to answer your question, I kind of went around, but yes, we start off with a simple, I would say a broad view of what we're going to offer or concept, get some consensus from the client, listen back to the client. Are we on track or have we gone off track somewhere? And if we have, which happens, we go back to the drawing board and then bring back another plan. And then once a concept is agreed upon, then we'll go back and do the details and then do the costing for them.
There must be a lot of that approach. It's like Bryan, I think you mentioned like the water wasn't getting distributed evenly, and I was thinking, back as a kid out in on the ranches and that we would have to change the pipes and that, and water. I mean, you'd walk through the field and there'd be patches where it was just drenched, like literally puddles in the water, and then on the outskirts you'd have it just lightly, especially if the sun's hitting it, it dries faster on the outskirts and that. So if they're approaching it in that, like sort of almost like a standard irrigation way, you have to sort of, but you're talking about acid. So they have to actually change the way they're thinking of it. Is there a lot of that is just to get them to just getting clients to a point where they're just looking at it in a different perspective?
Well, everybody's busy, and everyone needs to get their day job done. And sometimes the longer term thinking, it's hard to fit into your day. But we have very strong relationships with Codelco. We have very strong relationships with clients on every continent, and we visit them and we sit down and talk with them, and we help understand their problems and what their biggest challenges are, and we work with them to resolve those. So it's a lot about relationships and the long-term trust that we built by providing them with excellent results time and time again.
And I do think we get stats on the age ranges of people, and it's quite a wide range of people that watch our show, including a young audience that's learning about the industry. It's easy to see a video like these and see this end result. But just to give a context, we've seen 2 projects so far. I think we're going to highlight a 3rd project in a bit here. How long would these take? Like the drone project or the first one that we looked at? I mean, what's a timeline on actually getting something like either one of these implemented?
From our standpoint, I guess the initial, there's the pre-work, which is prior to purchase order or prior to get the go ahead to proceed. So that would take anywhere between 2 to 3 months with the client until they get a decision done. And that goes back to your earlier question, how do we do that, et cetera. I mean, it takes 2 to 3 months to discuss it and agree on a concept. Once we get the go ahead, the projects can range in timing, but generally it's between 8 and 12 months till delivery.
Yeah.
And then after that, they're designed for quick deliveries, but it depends also the time that you're in. And right now, with today's day and age, with COVID, there's times you can take a little bit longer to get things, challenges to get things installed. So
Yeah.
we've actually worked around that with remote glasses, vision glasses, so that we can help clients remote install. But
Oh.
it's generally about between 8 and 12 months.
And then what about the technology? I imagine there's a certain amount of, are you making a lot of your proprietary, is your technology proprietary? How much of it is AI? Are you using, are there systems like robotic companies that you're leveraging their technology? Sort of what's the whole setup of putting it all together?
Well, I would say most of our designs are proprietary designs and concepts, and that we've done. They're ours. We do work with robotic companies globally, and at the end of the day, when we're choosing a robotic company or a partner to use, which equipment to use, we generally look at where are they established, where's this product going. So, for example, if we're sending something to Europe, uh, where KUKA Robotics is located and where the robots are made, you would generally say maybe in Europe, going to Germany, KUKA would be a good brand to do because they're going to have potential aftermarket service there.
Mm.
The same if you're sending something to Japan, you might say FANUC. So depending on where the different robotic companies have setups, where they have aftermarket service support, that would help obviously play into our decision and recommendation to the client. Now, if the client already has some robotics in their system or in their plant, and it's a specific brand that they're currently using, we would then obviously choose that brand as well. Because there's nothing worse than providing a piece of equipment to a client that's completely different to what they already have.
Right. Yeah. So if possible, you'll actually integrate in what some of their own systems that they already have, or
Correct.
some of their own product lines that they already have. I wanted to, kind of putting it all together. Is there another project? I feel like we could probably go through about 20 projects because you do so many different things. But is there another sort of third project as we sort of get close to wrapping up that sort of stands out to you as a problem solver, that represents what you're capable of doing, and that putting that new process in place? Maybe Bryan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, there are a ton of projects, Jared. But one in particular that I'd like to highlight is a copper sorting and washing project that we did for Radomir Tomic and Kodelka. And they reached out to us, and they were manually sorting sheets of copper, and to identify the quality of it and identify ones that needed to be cleaned. So a sheet of copper is quite heavy, it's quite large, it's quite sharp. And they had people manipulating these, moving these around to inspect them, out in the Atacama Desert. And they reached out to us and said, "Hey, do you want to propose a solution for this?" And we jumped at the opportunity. And we said, "Well, what if we automate it? What if we take this task that's not appropriate for people to be doing, and what if we automate it to make it easier, make it safer, and improve the quality?" So we started with some ideas, and we took a number of different robotic systems to separate it, handle it, inspect it. And initially, we started inspection with using cameras, where operators were looking at the cameras. And after a while, we said, well, why don't we do this better? Why don't we implement our artificial intelligence? Why don't we use vision systems and cameras so that we can automatically grade the copper? So getting better results, making it cheaper, making it more efficient. And then we also implemented the washing. So instead of having people with hoses and moving the sheets around and trying to get them as clean as possible, how can we put it using a robotic system, putting it in a wash system so that we can more rapidly and more efficiently wash their copper? So this is an opportunity again where we came in with an own and operate solution. It probably would not have been accepted if we said, this is going to cost X, but we set up a system where our affiliate is owning, operating, and maintaining the system on a day-to-day basis, 7 days a week, to provide the client what they need.
John, I want to ask a question over to you. You know, as a CEO of a company, you've got to give a company direction and basically absorb information from all different levels to sort of to make that direction. And was this always an approach of EPCM? You said it originally it was an engineering company. So how long have you has the company taken this approach to sort of help companies be able to put it into an affordable, to convert something that was upfront could be stopped so much quicker if they weren't putting it into their actual OPEX. Was this a company shift to be able to do that?
It was definitely a company shift for us. I mean, as you mentioned, we started as an engineering company. We got into automation, and then we got into aftermarket service and supporting the clients. And that's just a natural progression. And the more that we were involved in the maintenance aspect of the client's equipment, the better the results the clients had. And the more we learned. But one of the frustrations we have, as you mentioned earlier, with some of the clients is first, second, and nobody wants to take the risk. You have these great ideas, and you can sit there and you can talk about them, but you can't put it into action. This particular client that we're talking about, the sorting cell with vision sorting, AI sorting that we installed on our equipment, they want vision systems for themselves in their own plant, but they've been burned before. So what better opportunity was there for us is to actually install it on our equipment. It was our risk. We had an economic benefit and a safety benefit by doing this. So it made sense for us to do it. And so if the client was to ask us, what proof do you have that this will work in our system? We just point outside and said, it's already working in your system. We're already using your product and sorting. And this technology that we've developed is not just for copper. It's for any kind of inspection work that we're doing. We're using it now on silver ingots. That could be also for gold. It could be for who knows what that you can teach. Anything that can be inspected. So it's kind of been a transversal thing that we've done. And if it wasn't for a pivot for us to get into working with clients in this own and operating business model, a lot of great ideas would just be that, great ideas.
Yeah. Well, you said something. You said it was a natural progression, and I want to go back to that, because how much of it there's definitely an approach in leadership of, you know, as demand comes, you push forward, you seize those opportunities, but then there's also an approach of creating these opportunities. And you're an interesting company because you're at the forefront of essentially automating, you know, industries like mining, which is not an easy thing to do. So how much of it is a natural progression as opposed to we're going to make a strategic move here to get companies to look at this? Or do you wait for them to have the problem and that's when you jump in with that solution? So how much of it is natural versus planned?
Oh, I would say it was natural in the sense that we went this route, but it's planned when we visit to a client site. When we go there, as Bryan said, quite often we get a call and it's for a specific issue they have or a specific problem they have. But when we get there and we listen, we actually can see that that's only a part of the problem, but there's a bigger problem. And maybe that's the problem has the cause and effect of what they're having. So it's a planned movement. It's a planned decision by us to go ahead into this direction for the business model. It's cannot get clients to necessarily move forward with decisions which affects our business. Because if the clients are sitting on CapEx decisions, that means they're sitting on ideas that we presented,
right?
And then we're waiting for decisions to be made. Whereas with the planned approach that we're using, it allows us to put some control back into our hands and control into the operations hands to actually make benefits, to their real benefits to the safety and operation, to safety and their operations, without having to ask for CapEx budgets.
Right. It's it is I'm sure, let's put it this way, I'm sure there's somebody listening that is trying to run a business. Maybe it's not even in the mining industry, but they're going, "Oh, we could probably do that." So I'm glad you're actually sharing that approach, not only for your clients, but so people sort of have a new perspective on how they can integrate technology. Brian, just before we wrap up, quickly over to you. I want to talk about you talked about service. Well, you both touched on it throughout this interview. So how are you? I just wanted to have a quick understanding of providing that service when you're in, I mean, Chile, Canada, Germany, all over the world. Do you have people over in these locations set up? Is it just a lot of travel? How are you actually on the ground servicing some of these operations?
So it depends on what's required by the clients. So, we have a large team based in our different geographies, but we need to travel and we need to send the right people to the right places to provide the right solutions. So we definitely have a strong local presence, and we have mines in Chile where we have people working there 24/7 to make sure that they have the support. But I was in Peru last week, and there's some clients who want remote support. So 24/7, can you have somebody at the end of the line who they have a problem in the middle of the night, they need to talk to an expert, you have somebody available. So we take different models for different people. Sometimes we'll need to go and do an overhaul or send in a SWAT team to support them with the challenge they're facing. We listen to our clients and we do what they require to get them the results they need.
I think if you take anything away, if someone's trying to learn how to run a business, listen to your client, I think would be a very consistent theme I've noticed in this interview. Um, John, going over to you to wrap up. The future of EPCM. I mean, it's the world, the use of technology has probably never been in a higher use, but there's also this huge future. You don't need to look around at systems very long to see that some of these legacy systems, not some, there's a lot of legacy systems still integrated in. What's the future of a company as under your leadership and sort of your approach, and how you want your team to approach the future?
Well, like our clients, we're all having a problem with manpower. And there's an aging workforce, and there's competition to get people. So getting resources is difficult today, globally. It's an issue for everybody. So for our clients, the importance of information today has never been greater because they're fighting for resources. Their workforce is aging, which is experience. And that information, when it does retire, that knowledge leaves the company. If you can put intelligence into the equipment and into the process, just process automation or equipment automation with intelligence, you can actually work with these knowledgeable people and put that intelligence into the equipment and provide a legacy of experience. So therefore, the new operations, new supervisors, new maintenance people coming up who maybe not even in school yet or being trained will have this expertise because the systems will be providing them with guidance and operational know-how on what the problems are, where you need to fix things, or how to run your operations. And it's going to be based on real data, on real experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and so as a company, that the more the better you can offer that, the more growth opportunity and sustainability you have as a company.
That's where we're going. I mean, we believe that we need to be that link for the client and passing information, but not just passing an abundance of information. I mean, a lot of clients out there, they talk about Industry 4.0. Sometimes that means they just get data and data and data.
Yeah.
That's no good either. What you need to do is provide data in a point that is useful data, useful information, so that it can be used. And that's where we see the focus for ourselves going forward, is being that company.
Just quick question. As the world has certainly changed over the last couple of years, has EPCM sort of looked at, I guess platforms like ours as a way to communicate as opposed to sort of being that best kept secret?
Jared, I mean, this you've hit the every hammer on the head. This platform that you're providing, this opportunity is critical to our business development and moving forward. EPCM has made a large investment in social media, and we believe that what we're doing here today and what we're doing with LinkedIn and YouTube, etc., is vitally important for our marketing approach going forward. I know for a fact that when Bryan was traveling, he mentioned in Peru that we got clients are coming back to us or reaching out to us based off of what they see on the internet. And programs like yours are extremely important. So we appreciate it.
Gentlemen, thank you for being on the show. I really do appreciate it. I quite often on this show have companies that do things at such a great scale. I try to get by the end of the interview, I'm just hoping I did them some justice. I hope I did your company justice, because the capabilities and what you're bringing to the industry is not only amazing, but it's also important. So thank you both for joining us, and I hope to see you back on the show soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jared. Pleasure.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, everyone. Thank you for watching. We'll have plenty of links if you want to see more of their projects, more of EPCM's capabilities. They serve multiple industries as well. So there's a lot we couldn't cover and packed into one show, but follow those links and check them out. Follow us, suggest guests. You've seen us, you've seen us scale up our production and doing a lot more episodes. We're going to do even more. And to do that, we need your help. So please send us guests, give us suggestions of how we can make the show better. We're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and all the podcast platforms as well. Thank you for watching, everybody. We will see you on the next episode of Mining Now.